So I'm so sorry I'm late. Hello, everyone. I'm Chris Mays, your Attorney General. Thank you for having me back to this beautiful community.
Mike's not on.
Mike's not on, you're right. Is that on? How's that? Is that better?
No.
Not a lot better. I'm going to have to speak loudly, I think. I'm Chris Mays. I'm your Attorney General, and it is so good to be back here in this beautiful community, and it's my honor to be here to make this announcement and to lay it out for you. I'm going to try to read some of these comments if I can. In February of 2024, I see many familiar faces. Many of you were here with me in February of 2024. I stood here in this room filled with members of this community and heard countless stories of wells that had gone dry, roads and even houses that were damaged by land subsidence, and fears that without intervention, things would get worse and worse. Longtime residents, help me out here. Okay, thank you. Longtime residents told me that they were afraid that without intervention, they wouldn't be able to stay in the communities that they loved if groundwater supplies continued to be depleted. Retirees who had spent their life savings to buy property to live in this quiet and beautiful part of our state worried that their investments were at risk and did not know what they would do if they no longer could access water supplies. I remember one resident, her name was Tracy Page, summed up the feeling of many in this room when she said, quote, "All we want is to live a quiet life and have water." In the 2 legislative sessions that have come and gone since that town hall, we have yet to see action by the legislature to address these concerns. But my office has been busy trying to address the problem with the tools that I have available. Last year, as many of you know, I sued Fondamonte in La Paz County for their actions that we allege have created a public nuisance for communities like Winden and Vicksburg in western Arizona. We sued under nuisance law. And for the past year and a half, we have been investigating the actions of Riverview Dairy here in Cochise County. But unlike Fondamonte, Riverview and its owners have engaged with us over the past year to attempt to come to a compromise that will help the residents here near the dairy and surrounding areas. So today, I am proud to announce a settlement with Riverview LLP that will reduce groundwater usage by the dairy and provide funding to redrill wells, provide tanks and water hauling services to ensure the residents and schools have water access. Riverview has agreed to provide $11 million in funding, split between 2 funds to help ensure continued access to potable water for residents of the Sulphur Springs Valley here in Cochise County. Additionally, Riverview has also agreed to fallow 2,000 acres of farmland here in the valley, reducing groundwater usage and conserving more water for the future. And are these slides behind me? Are we okay? Yeah. Here we have the terms of the agreement. So 2,000 acres of irrigated farmland to be fallowed, that acreage transitioned to a different use, such as grazing, habitat, or other non-row crops. It's my understanding that the cost of that to the company is around $18 million in lost profits and costs.
Good.
And then the amount of water, we'll get to that in a second, is significant as well. But can you go back, Delaney? Riverview has also agreed to continue its to use best management practices for its operations. Go to the next slide. This is the real reductions in groundwater pumping that will result from the fallowing of that water. So you see that we estimate that it will avoid more than 100,000 acre feet of groundwater pumping here between 2026 and 2040. That's the cumulative estimated avoided groundwater pumping due to the Riverview cropland conversion. Go to the next slide. And this is a chart that also shows you that, so this, if I can get over here, this brown area represents the Riverview agreement fallowing. The blue area represents the cumulative pumping reductions due to the AMAs. And so you can see that there's a significant amount of reduction as a result of what Riverview has agreed to, even relative to the AMA. The other thing that's important about the agreement is that the company is agreeing to use less water and do it more quickly than they would have to do under the AMA. So that's a significant feature of this. As they fallow the land over the next 12 years, they will have strict reporting requirements to the Attorney General's office, and they are, and this is very important, prohibited from transferring or from selling or transferring the fallowed acreage without the non-row crop requirement, or it must fallow an equivalent number of acres, substitute acreage. Next slide. So, Riverview has agreed to deposit, spend this amount of money, $11 million for well drilling, water hauling, and groundwater access. And let me detail a little bit about that. That money will go into two funds, so two separate funds to help ensure continued access to potable water due to falling groundwater levels within the valley. The funds can be used to drill new wells for those who need it, install water tanks, support water hauling, and fund other emergency or interim residential water supply measures. And by the way, I'll take questions in a second. So I know folks will have questions and comments and insults if you have some, as John McCain used to say. The Riverview funding commitment will be directed to those impacted by declining groundwater levels within a 1 to 6 mile radius of any Riverview irrigation well. The Sulphur Springs Valley Water Fund will be directed toward those impacted by declining groundwater levels outside of a 1.6 mile radius of any Riverview irrigation well. So there is a radius for the fund that Riverview will control and fund of 1.6 miles, and then outside of that radius, another 1.6 miles that will be controlled by a non-profit organization. And so the $5.5 million, again, will be administered for those inside that radius, administered by Riverview. That fund will also support the construction and installation of replacement groundwater wells, tank systems, water fill stations, and water hauling services for residential use, and the funding and expansion of existing community water systems. The money will be available for impacted residents, schools, and special districts, water companies, or municipalities municipalities that provide domestic water services. Let's go to the next slide. Again, so for the community by the community, this is the community fund to be controlled by the nonprofit. That's another $5.5 million. It will be informed by a 5-member review panel appointed by the Sulphur Spring Alliance, the Lincoln Institute of Land Policy's Babbitt Center for Land and Water Policy, and the Arizona State University Sustainability Institute and the Water Resources Research Center at the University of Arizona, and the nonprofit. So that's how that will work, and we can get more into that in a second. So this money will be prioritized for impacted individuals to replace or re-drill groundwater wells and provide access to tank systems, water fill stations, and water hauling. The administering nonprofit will open applications for assistance from this fund on April 8th of this year, so coming up soon. And other than making the required contributions, Riverview will not have any approval, veto, or control over the Sulphur Springs Water Fund uses, policies, awards, or administration. So that's how that will work. We have the other slides in there with the, oh wait, with the graphs? Did I ever go through those? Oh yeah, we did, okay, never mind, okay. So that, you know, that is those are the essential details of this. And let me close by saying this, and then I want to take your questions and said comments and thoughts. I've said this before, the town hall that I had with you now several years ago was probably the most impactful town hall I have ever had. And I've done hundreds of town halls. Second most impactful was the ADI town hall I just did in Benson, but this one I think tops that one. And one of the things that we came away from that with was that we have to do something. Do I think this is the perfect deal and the perfect agreement? No. No, it's not everything that I was looking for, by a long shot. I will tell you that. And it's also not the end of the story of our involvement in this valley. There is much more to be done. But I do think that this is the first of its kind agreement, not just in this state, but anywhere in the country, where a major ag user has agreed to fund a fund like this and has agreed to fallow this much acreage. So it's a start for me, and I suspect it's just a start for you, and I suspect you have a lot of questions. But, you know, as a daughter of rural Arizona, as you guys know, I was born and raised in Prescott. I don't think there's anything more important than standing up for rural Arizona, and I will promise you I will continue to do that. So with that, I'm going to open it up for questions first from the community, and then we can do press questions later, if that makes sense to you.
And if you would just either stand up and raise your hand, and then when she points to you, just introduce yourself, and then feel free to speak.
Yes, sir.
Vern Johnson, Arizona Agricultural Solutions. So I'm sitting here to the back. I've got a few years on me. My eyes aren't as good as they used to be. Was that 2,000 acres we're setting out?
2,000 fallowed acres, yes.
Okay. So 2,000 acres, guys. We use it on a normal row crop year. We're going to use 6 acre feet. If it's pecans, you do a double crop system with corn, maybe you get to 8. 8 times 2,000, instead of 16,000 acre feet. Go back to that slide. You're trying to get rid of 100,000 acre feet. Math don't add up. Where's that going to come? Is that going to be in the AMA where we're going to get actual family farms? family people that matter in this. You're gonna provide
That's
water back
over,
to people,
sir,
which
that's
is
over
great.
15 years, so.
Over 15 years, so we're doing 2,000 a year for 15 years?
No. So you wanna go back to the, well,
Cumulative impact.
it's the cumulative impact of that. So I
Math
think that,
doesn't
yeah, I
math,
think the
guys.
maths, but I can have Andy come forward and, or others, Andy, if you wanna come forward and speak to that. And then while he's coming forward, we'll take another question.
Can we talk to them now? Talk later?
Okay, another question?
Oh, I think everybody wants to hear the answer to my question.
Well,
All right.
okay.
So, over 15 years, you fallow 2,000 acres over that period. It's gonna be a phased fallowing. But over the course of that 15 years, you're gonna, I think at the peak, our internal estimate was that would be about 11,000 acre feet avoided. So when you add all that up over 15 years, that's more than 100,000 acre feet.
It's an interesting way of looking at it.
I-
I mean, that's the way our hydrologist looks at it. So the other thing that we did is that for the first time in the history of the Attorney General's office, we hired a hydrologist to study the impact of Riverview on this basin, on the basins, and to give us an estimate of, you know, what we needed to do and what would be impactful. Now, do I agree with you that more should be done? And I will be looking to major ag users to voluntarily come forward and join with Riverview in both fallowing and contributing to this fund, okay? As I said, this is the first step. And, you know, what this will do, and if we could go back to the chart, this one, what this it does, again, this is the Riverview deal, okay? Compared to the AMA. And you see the Riverview deal starts a full, I think, 5 years before the AMA restrictions start. So, yeah, I mean, I agree with you that more needs to be done, right? But
But the
Riverview,
biggest player in the valley is going to have just the drop in the bucket. That's all it is.
I guess I would
The
quibble
rest
with that.
the rest of the family farms that exist are gonna be the ones that are gonna be, the minority acreage is going to be expected to do more. And that's what we'll likely see coming forward, that's it.
We'll talk afterwards. I guess I would disagree with that characterization, but I understand your concern. There are other non-small family farms that I think can contribute to the fund and the fallowing. Non-small family farms, and I think we all know who those folks are. Yes?
My name is Judy Bernard, and I've been involved in trying to save water in this valley since 2009. And I think you probably remember I spoke before
Yes.
about all the things that happened at Kansas Settlement, that whole area, and Sunazona, and everywhere. I have to commend you on what work you have done. It has taken all these years, and I see you as a progressive person that is going after the good old boys that have done nothing for us out here, nothing. You've done wonders.
I appreciate that. And I will tell, my staff will tell you, I am really hard on myself and on our staff. And this was a hard fought negotiation. This took a year. Some of you, my staff will tell you that on a weekly basis, I would say, where are we on Riverview? Like literally, I wake up thinking about this community. I wake up thinking about you ever since that town hall. And so we, we did obviously an investigation for about a year after the town hall. Again, I wish it had come faster. I wish we could have done this faster. I think we do now have a template going forward for other, not just this area, but also for other parts of the state to use, to go to companies and to say, can you match or beat this? Will you match or beat this? Because, I don't wanna have to sue you, but I will if I have to.
Good.
I did to the Saudis. And so, it's a template, we can improve upon it, it's not perfect. It is something that, and again, it took a year of hard-fought negotiations with Riverview, to get this. And so, I'm sure there will be people in the agricultural community who will be angry about this, who will say that this company shouldn't have done this. I promise you, that will happen. They will take heat for this, and I will take heat for this. But it is a step forward, as you said, I think, in the right direction, and we're not gonna give up on this community. There is so much more that needs to be done, not just here, but also in other parts of the state that are dealing with similar type situations. And again, we all should be asking the legislature, right? What are they going to do? What are they going to do for this and other communities that are facing these kinds of groundwater crises? For now though, again, as I told you, I will use the tools that I have available to me. Any questions? Over here, yes.
My name is Michael Gregory, I'm from Down Valley, Delaware. Again, thank you. Real quick question, easy question, I hope. I'm assuming that the 2,000 fallowed acres are contiguous acres?
For my staff, I believe they are, but that might also, we will check on that and get an answer for you before the, I'm sorry, I don't know the answer to that. We'll find out for you.
All right.
We'll find out for you.
Hopefully.
Hopefully is your answer, okay, yes, come over here.
Yeah, my name is Peter Karras. Has there ever been any discussion about using some of the fallow land to recharge the aquifer? They have the capability of drilling down and making it like a pond, so when it rains, it goes down, to replace some of the water that we've greedily sucked up over all these years.
It's a great question. That might be a question for the company, and I know they have representatives here. It's a great question, and I think recharge is something that we're gonna need to see in a lot of areas like this one. It's certainly something, there's nothing to stop the company from doing that. And as we go forward, I think, it's something that they might wanna consider doing to the degree that they can. I will say there's nothing in the agreement on that point. But again, going back to why the fallowing is important, again, it's not the be-all and end-all. It's not gonna solve our problem here. But what I think it gives us, and what it gives the aquifer, is a couple of years at least, maybe more, of a chance to breathe, to not be as overdrawn, to perhaps slow that decline in a way that would not have happened just under the AMA. And so that's why I would love to see a replication of this among other major agricultural users in this valley. Okay, again, emphasizing the major, the ones that can really have that kind of an impact. I mean, let's face it, we are going to need to get fallowing in other parts of the state, and You know, there are ways to do that. We found a way to do that here. That is something, frankly, I think the legislature could work on. Is there a fallowing incentive program that we can develop, through statute, that could accomplish to some degree what we were able to accomplish here on a smaller scale? So something that I think that we should, that now actually a couple of folks in this valley are already thinking about, but that we should be thinking about on a statewide basis. We'll try to get an answer on the recharge. Yes, good to see you again.
Nice to see you. I have two questions, two practical, very practical type questions, and I have a comment on it. First question, can everyone hear me?
Your name?
Oh, Steve Kissel. I live about 4 miles west of here, closer to the Dragon Mountains. I've been involved with the water work here for the last 4 or 5 years. So the first question is, do these wells include land that is leased by Riverview? So those wells, because there are people that live near land that has been, at least we think has been leased by Riverview in the past, or through a third party. We've seen that in a few instances. I know, John, that was the case on your property for a time. So when we have that 1.5 mile radius, if someone lives within 1.5 miles of a property that's being leased by Riverview, and maybe they're not leasing anymore, but would that count?
Great question. Is Andy still, or Kirsten, do you wanna?
It's 1.6 miles from a Riverview irrigation well.
Yeah,
So
so
I would
the,
say wherever those wells are, whatever type of property.
Yeah, they have probably 15 wells. just in
Andy,
these
why don't you
adjacent
come back up?
Sure.
The question was, Steve, do you wanna restate that question? Because it's an interesting and important question, yeah.
So at least in the past, and I don't know if Gary, you wanna speak to that, or you still leasing land? But if you're leasing, if you happen to be a homeowner in your land that Riverview is leasing and been irrigating for the last, let's say, 6-7 years, and your well's been impacted, will you be covered by this because it's leased land that's not owned by Riverview?
I believe that they would be, but Andy? Yeah.
So to the best of my knowledge, and please don't hold me to this,
We'll
it's
find
all-
an answer.
yeah, it's, the agreement only applies to wells that Riverview owns. However, all the money in the agreement can be used regardless of how far you are away from that well. So it may be the case that you are, I don't know, a mile away from a well that Riverview is leasing output from. And for the record, I don't know what their leasing plans are or what they're doing. So let's just say hypothetically, and you're 4 miles away from a Riverview-owned well, you can get assistance from the Sulphur Springs Water Fund. So you'll still be covered regardless of whether or not those particular wells are part of the radius consideration.
Yeah, and that was one of the reasons we wanted to do these two funds, was to have not just the areas next to Riverview, but also to extend beyond that. And so that zone beyond the radius around Riverview's wells would then be controlled, that zone is managed by, and the fund is managed by the nonprofit that will be helping people with the funds.
And the other question in terms of how this will practically be implemented would be, if, I know many people have had to deepen their wells in those areas. Some with assistance from Riverview, many without. And that has happened. I mean, so now they're sitting okay. Their wells may be dropping 10 feet a year, but right now they can't claim that their well's gone dry. Some who didn't deepen their wells or have been hauling water at considerable expense and or time and effort compared to what they had before that. Will there be any will they be eligible for any kind of compensation? Retroactive?
So, this is a great question. Here, I'm gonna do the best I can to answer this question. If I butcher this, my staff is going to run up here and grab the microphone. Cause it's a really important practical question, Steve. And I was actually talking about it on the plane on the way down here. So, the answer is, generally speaking, the money, is designed to be prospective. That being said, there are provisions, especially in the fund to be managed by the nonprofit, that allow for hardship situations, or what's the phrasing that we used?
Extreme hardship.
Extreme hardship, or in the name of justice, or in the name of,
Yeah, something like that.
yeah, I have to look at the exact language. It gives the nonprofit some discretion, thank you, Tom. Some discretion about just those kinds of situations. Cause you can imagine, somebody just paid for their well, they just had it paid for to be deepened. There's a fairness issue of, Mays just came down here and announced this, and we just got our wells re-drilled, Water hauling, I believe, is covered by this, so water hauling's definitely, covered. And, one of the things that I asked our experts is this $11 million adequate to help a significant number of people? I know some people are shaking their heads no, some people are shaking their heads yes. My expert believes that it is adequate to help hundreds of families and homeowners in this valley. Now, so $11 million, right? You do the math, we did the math, $30,000 to $60,000 sometimes to re-drill wells. Water hauling is a different matter, different costs, but, one of the questions that I asked, and I think one of the many reasons that I'm gonna stay engaged here is, okay, what happens when that money runs out? Okay, right? Now, I am hoping that we can staunch the decline of the water table so that we don't have to continue to re-drill wells. But, refreshing that fund, now this agreement is over, I think, a 20-year period. It's over a 20-year period. Refreshing that fund in the future, if it is fully consumed by families who've had to re-drill their wells, or I asked the question of my staff and the hydrologist, what if folks have to re-drill their wells twice? And, I was, the answer back was, that's unlikely, but one never knows. I'm sure there are people who have had to re-drill their wells twice. So this is, come to you in a sec. This is an important question, and one of the reasons that we want to, continue to, repair the aquifer and staunch the decline, and staunch the overpumping, but also to make sure that we have that, assistance fund fully funded over time. So, I don't know if that answers those questions, Steve, but, and then, yeah, come here.
Mike Laws, Councilman, City of Wilcox. I was the mayor for 10 years, but I'd like to ask you a question, and the state's been very good to us. If you're a city, they're gonna help you, they have. But when you talk about people losing a well the second time, do you think any of this money, or could we sit down and talk sometime about, right now, we have a refill station that we spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to build for county residents. So we did. And that went down, is it still down, Mayor?
It's down right now, or maybe it's.
Oh, yeah, it's been down for a little bit.
Yeah, it's down, and, so we're not able to help people. We were furnishing 160 people, 160 a day to 200 a day with water. City of Wilcox. That's down because it's wore out. I mean, we keep changing people every day. So would you be willing to, maybe not with this money, but say on, talk to us about helping us build a bigger filler station, or, you know what I'm getting at?
Yeah, I absolutely would love to talk to you about that, and yes, we will do everything we can to help and look at that, so. And I don't know if the Riverview fund can be used for that.
Not
Not for Wilcox, okay, but we'll talk about that, yes.
My name is Victoria Scott. I have several questions I'd like to present to you.
Sure.
Number one, I would like you to tell me, if, to the best of your knowledge, how many, wells do Riverview have punched down now? And how many of them are super wells?
Okay, that is a question that I might have to
I'll
leave
get back to you on it.
Yeah, we could.
No,
well,
because honestly, we just don't know right now.
How many, that Riverview
The
has?
super wells and the number, and I would guess Cheryl Knott would probably know before I would, but,
Well, the company also knows, so.
right.
They have over 300 wells.
Yeah, I believe that's right.
And the super wells are put down along the creeks.
Okay.
Around, okay.
Yeah. And, you know, okay, that's one question I want to ask. The other question is, how many thousands of acres does Riverview have that they are using to produce and to create and to grow GMO Roundup ready? So we have herbicides and pesticides,
Yeah,
poisoning going on. And we need to discuss these things.
yeah.
How many of this, your presentation here of thousands of acres and 2,000 that are gonna be fallow, how many thousands of acres does Riverview have? Do they own right now?
38,000.
About 38,000, is that right? That they own, but they also lease some,
But,
Yeah.
yeah, probably.
yeah.
Well, they said what's been on record has been over 50,000.
It might be.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, to the question, I think there's an important question also about other issues related to, that could be considered a nuisance, or some might consider this a nuisance. It came up during the first town hall, these kinds of issues, light, pollution, et cetera, odor, and then herbicide. Those are, I will say, those are not things that we negotiated as a part of this particular agreement, okay? But, you know, I think that, you know, that's all I can say about that. I understand the concern,
Okay, I would
and I
like
understand.
to say,
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
I've lived on Turkey Creek for over 20 years, and it ran most of the year until Riverview showed up and started putting in their deep water wells. 2,700 feet down, 3,000, and we live on Turkey Creek, and there were turtles and rattlesnakes and lizards, and this is what we have now. I have no turtles because there's no water. They have effectively stopped Turkey Creek from running. And that's, needs to be a major focus. You're here saying they're gonna put down more wells and give people more water. What about the wildlife? You know, this is a travesty right here. I'm here to protect them.
I thank you, and I appreciate that.
It's horrible to live with this.
So what I would say is, this fund is not designed to put down additional wells. It's designed to repair existing wells, or help re-drill existing wells, of homeowners who've seen their wells go dry, you know, as a result of the over pumping in the valley.
So there's nothing in this agreement here to reflect protection of the wildlife?
I think it does. I mean, here's my argument. Look, again, this goes to me conceding to you that this is not the perfect agreement. It is not. And there probably are not too many attorneys general who would stand in front of you and tell you that this is not the perfect agreement. It's not.
But at what point can we start
what
putting the truth out about how many wells there are, how deep they are?
Well, I think
how
you
it's
just did.
destroying the wildlife?
I think you just did, and that's
Thank
why
you.
and that's why these town halls are so important. I will continue to do them for as long as I'm the Attorney General of the state. What I would say is, I am hopeful that this start will start to help what you're talking about. Now, do I know that it's gonna bring back Turkey Creek? No, I can't sit here and tell you that. But fallowing 2,000 acres saves more than 100,000 acre-feet of water. And that is a start. That is something that wasn't gonna happen before I got this company to the negotiating table.
I want everybody to be aware of the fact that there's not a drop of water coming down off the Chiricahua Mountains, and there would be. This is criminal, what has gone on in this valley. This is a sacred hoop of the Chiricahua Apache, and it should be honored as an Arizona heirloom. This is just as beautiful and just as important as the Grand Canyon and anything in Sedona or anything else. And that should be the focus. This is, please, dear God, we need to protect, this place is precious for its vitality and its health. It's already been degraded and damaged greatly. And I wanna see it get turned around.
I
Period.
agree with you.
Thank you.
I agree with you. I don't know if I've told you guys this, but my father was an environmentalist. He passed away when he was 56 years old. He was an outdoorsman. He was the co-founder of the Sierra Club in Yavapai County. And as a child, I remember him coming here dozens of times to hike in the Chiricahua Mountains. And he would come back, he was a botanist by avocation, and he would come back with plants and show them to us. And when I was 8, I was like, I don't care. But it stuck in my head, you know. Well, I did care, but it was not top of mind. Star Wars was top of mind. But my father loved this valley. He loved it. He adored the Chiricahua Mountains. He adored the wildlife here. And I remembered that. I have remembered that my whole life. I still have his plant presses. I brought those plant presses out and showed them to Riverview officials during my negotiations with them. I showed them the plants that my father brought down from the Chiricahua Mountains when I was negotiating with them. And I said to them, this is what we are fighting for. And I hear your frustration that you believe it's not enough, and I don't disagree with you.
Half of the trees on my property are dead and dying. That's real. I look at it. My heart is broken. I love this place. And this has been going on for a long, long time. And I don't see anything in here to protect the environment and the wildlife and the water and the soil from being further poisoned.
Keep working on it. Back here, yes. Come right here.
First of all, thank you so much for coming back down. My name is Lou Minuta, and I'm with a group called People for the Playa Water Resources. And my organization and Steve's, the Cochise Groundwater Stewards, were instrumental in getting you to come down 2 years ago to see us, so it's great to have you back. What I wanted to say was that last year, our organization, People for the Playa Water Resources, received their 501c3 designations where we are a real, not nonprofit, recognized by the IRS, and our sole purpose for being is to help raise money to help people whose wells have gone dry, to haul water deep in their wells, and to provide educational programming throughout the year on water-related issues. And I noticed that you said that one of the funds, the Sulphur Springs Fund, would be run by a nonprofit, and I didn't know if that nonprofit has already been identified.
It has, and the money actually, the first round of money has already been deposited into their bank account. That being said, you know, certainly your organization should be, I think, involved around this issue, and would love to talk to you about that. But yeah, we wanted to make sure that the money got deposited as soon as possible into their bank account. So that funded, I think, on Friday, if I'm not mistaken.
31st.
On the oh, sorry, on the 31st, actually. Yes.
So, what I don't hear being addressed, and I think this is true, is the way that we're doing agriculture altogether is not the best. Riverview is simply a horror. No matter what, I really appreciate what you've done, believe me. And there has to be some immediate remediation, and this is the beginning. I see that. But I see a bigger question, is that we have to talk about the nature of how agriculture is being done. And that big corporate enterprises where profit, not the health of the community or the health of individuals, is being considered, that's something we need to, because that's just the beginning of a conversation.
Yeah.
But I really think that we need to begin to discuss what is a healthy way to do agriculture where money profit is not the bottom line, but the health of community and the health of individuals is the bottom line.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and you know, look, I mean, it's a tricky issue, right? Whenever you talk about agriculture in Arizona, we have so many wonderful family farms in this state. There are parts of the state where it's absolutely appropriate to have farming. But we are seeing these situations now pop up here in La Paz County, where I'm suing the Saudis over this. In Mojave County, where I have been invited to come up and have a town hall like this, where there is extreme pumping on the other side, on the, I'm gonna get this wrong maybe, but the north side of the Wallapai Mountains. Extreme pumping, agricultural pumping, in what is definitely a desert terrain, for those of you who have driven between Kingman and Las Vegas. Okay, we're talking Golden Valley, right? Anybody who has driven between Phoenix and the California border on the I-10 and looks off into north to the Saudi alfalfa farms. Doesn't take much to know that that is not an appropriate place for that farming, not a sustainable place for that farming, not at that level, and it is harming people all around it, just like here. Now, in that case, I had to sue them. They did not come to the table, and so what I do hope, for whatever flaws there are associated with this deal, that this is the start of something good going forward, where companies take responsibility and participate in helping the people who have been harmed already, and who understand that we cannot afford to be dumb with water anymore in this state. And this level of agricultural pumping in a way that clearly harms surrounding neighbors and puts entire aquifers in jeopardy is just not appropriate anymore, especially in light of climate change and in light of our dwindling water supplies. And we just have to be clear-eyed about that. And then we have another situation, I'll just really quickly say this, and I know we have other questions, but now we have situations in which hedge funds are buying up entire farms in western Arizona with an eye toward not just pumping the water for agriculture, in fact, not for pumping water for agriculture, but for pumping water and sending it into Phoenix so Phoenix can grow at an unsustainable clip. So that's what they want to do to western Arizona. And over my dead body, are they going to do that to us? at least one, maybe two giant hedge funds that spent, one of them just spent, I believe, $100 million to buy a huge pre-existing agricultural operation outside of Wyndon, with clearly an eye toward transporting that into Phoenix so that Phoenix can continue our explosive growth. Now, what do you think the folks of Wyndon and Vicksburg think about that? Not fair, not okay. And this AG from rural Arizona is gonna do everything I can to stand in the way of that. But I think it's a great point. It's a really great point. So, yes, right here.
Hi, my name's Don Fleischman. I lived in the valley for 22 years. One thing, and you probably well aware of this, I don't know, but Riverview was originally, you know about the original permitting, and then there was like originally permitted for 30,000 cows, I think, and then it just became, I was in the military, I'm very familiar with asking, it's easier to ask forgiveness of permission. But it seems like there's the foot in the door, then it grew. It's like, well, let's get our foot in the door, and then whoop, then we'll do whatever we want. This was allowed by someone we know, and I'm thankful it looks like you're trying to rein that back, say, okay, you were permitted for, this, that's what you get. You know what I mean? There's factors, and like I said, I just wanted to bring it up. I'm sure you're probably well aware of these things, however, I just wanted to state it.
Yeah, and I think one of the important things of having the AMAs and also this deal is that it starts to, I think, address some of that, right? Like, without the deal and without the AMAs, that kind of expansion, is now at least buttressed a little bit. So, but I hear your point. I absolutely hear your point. I appreciate that. Here, and then we'll come over here.
In some of your charts.
Oh, give us your name.
Oh, Jim Verner.
Jim Verner, yes.
Okay.
Hey, Jim.
In some of your charts, you made a distinction between row crops and non-row crops. Well, within row crops, you have some varieties that are very heavy water users. Others are very efficient with water. Has there been any discussion about trying to limit some of the row crops like cotton that have tremendous water consumption?
Yeah, it applies to all row crops.
Pardon?
This applies to all row crops, the fallowing.
So there's no distinction, if it's a row crop, it's a row crop.
It's a row crop, yeah.
So it'll be up to the farmer,
Well,
if he's gotta restrict water, of deciding if he needs to go to another crop.
yeah, but can't go to row crops on that fallowed land. Primarily, I think they're doing, corn and, alfalfa, what's
Silage.
silage
Yeah, that's
to feed the cows. That's primarily, I think, what they would say. Yeah, I'm sorry, let's come over here.
Thank you. My name is Jerry Gonzalez. I'm from Double Adobe. And thank you for your presentation. It was very informative. But I'm going to share with you what my neighbors and I talk about all the time. That is the history of our farming community. Back in the mid-40s, we started farming. We carved out farms during the 50s, the 60s. We started working with irrigation systems. We became very efficient. In fact, in our farming community, you won't see any tailwater running on the roads. It's all sprinkler irrigation. We have people from other parts of the country and other countries come and look at our systems because they're so efficient. Normally, traditionally it would take about 4 acre feet to grow pecans. Now we can put a crop together with 2.8 acre feet. Because of the efforts of the small producers and their desire to survive and become more efficient. So we've been doing that, and we were able to reach a level in our aquifer where we were stable. We became the non-expansionary, and during that time, everybody had water. We all managed it. We invested a lot in developing sophisticated irrigation systems and all that. We had no problems. And then we get these big producers that suck a lot of water that we were trying to save for all these years. And the aquifer started going down. We think it's really strange that you're penalizing all of the small farmers that are good stewards of the land and water and have been for 50 years. And now we're rewarding the big farms and giving them breaks and all that because they pay taxes that we can't. But they're not stewards of the land the way we have been. We have been here with our families for a long time. We work hard to maintain fertility. We had small businesses and all that, but nobody's gonna take care of that land like we are. And we're being squeezed out because we're not a mega farm, because we don't pay the tax bill. These guys, 2,000 acres, that's a drop in the bucket. For a lot of the people I know, it's life and death, you know? We can't compete simply because we don't have endless amounts of money. It takes a lot of planning, a lot of sacrifice to drill a well and all that, and your labor cost and all that are here because the demand is here. For us, it doesn't exist. We are struggling to stay in business. We are a specialty crop area. We can produce all the vegetables, all the things you need to put good food in school cafeterias and everywhere else. But nobody's doing that. We're growing alfalfa, and we have cows that do nothing for us at all. So I would like to find a way to explain to my neighbors that have been there for their whole life, and now they have to force their kids to go somewhere else and maybe get a job with you guys. To stay in business. It's not fair. It's not fair that you're taking the best conservation people, the best stewards, that were able to maintain a healthy water table for a long time. We didn't have these problems before these guys showed up. And now, there's no end to it. They're gonna drain it, but it's gonna be a little slower. And slowly but surely, we will not exist. And what are we gonna have? Fallow land. And the ranchers are gonna have a hard time getting that to regain their quality cow country and all that kind of stuff. So it's not fair that we are there suffering and really working hard on budgets. I propose that we stop all the AMA activity until we can figure out how to get rid of these guys and send them back to where they come from.
I understand, that was the sentiment when I came here, right? I mean, let's be honest, that's what most people that came to this town hall felt. I will tell you, that's a hard thing to do. They're here. Our legislature has not passed laws that limit this kind of farming. And you know, and so as I said, I'm using the tools that I can use. And to be honest with you, to be totally frank, I made a choice here between getting something done right now for this valley to try to help the health of the aquifer and to make sure that people who need their wells re-drilled and who need help right now can have that, versus just suing the company. And I came to the conclusion that this was the best thing that I could do. And that we could that we could build off of this. And to your point about who's being penalized, I mean, if you were to ask the company, I think what they would say is, again, this is what they would say, and I'll let them speak for themselves later, that this is the first time any agricultural operation like this one has ever agreed to do something like this. Now,
We are,
just a second.
when it comes to agriculture, we're so small a region. We're way past the decimal point in national agriculture. So why are they stealing our water? Why don't they go to places that have more water to steal, probably cheaper than us?
Yeah, I mean, these are interesting questions about the appropriateness of agriculture in a valley, industrial agriculture in a valley
Yeah.
like this one. These are important questions that, we got, wanna come back here, and then we'll come back to you, no, we'll give the city, you're with the city.
Yeah.
Okay, something that, yeah.
Yeah, a couple that might be pretty quick. One is, does this apply to both the Wilcox and Douglas basins?
Yes.
Okay. Two, the umbrella for Riverview's side of the fund
Look forward
is
to it.
pretty broadly defined, and I'm wondering, is there any, I haven't had a chance to read the whole paperwork on this yet, but is there any stipulations that money definitely goes toward citizens and not Riverview-owned land or Riverview ownership land or their own projects, basically?
Yeah, I mean, what I would say is I cannot imagine a scenario in which they would ever spend this money on anything but citizens or, you know.
Because, well, I guess the
think
one thing I
schools,
saw was like
schools are in there.
water providing infrastructure.
Yeah.
And I know previously there was interest in creating a water district. I
Yeah.
don't know if that money might go toward.
I mean, okay, it's a great question, Christian, but what I would say is look, it's not a lot of money relative, I mean, $5.5 million. I can't imagine that it would be used for that. I mean, potentially to help seed a district, I guess, maybe, yes, there's language in their money that allows for that. What they have communicated to me is that they intend to spend it on individuals.
But there will be like accounting of all of that.
Oh, yeah, yeah. There's
Public.
very strict reporting requirements in the agreement.
Last
Sorry,
quick
we
question.
have time for one more question from a member of the public, and then we'll give media their own time to ask questions. So we'll make sure that all of your
I
questions.
think that includes you.
But if you
Well,
can
I'm
go for it.
half media, half.
Okay, go
citizen.
ahead. Good point.
That's true, yeah. Go ahead,
The
go ahead.
last one is about the fallowed lands, they can be repurposed toward grazing. Can that be irrigated grazing? In other words, can those fallowed acres still have water applied to them for non-row crops, like just like irrigated pasture, basically?
Irrigated pasture, we'll have to get into we'll get an answer for you before the end of the day. Yes.
Can they grow, houses?
Can you grow what?
Houses.
Houses.
They build houses on
Then they build houses on it.
Are we talking about?
It's non-row crop, I kinda doubt they would, but, you know, I will say, and houses use a lot less water than a big ag, I will say that.
But we're not talking about habitat restoration.
No,
correct?
that's true. I don't think that that's in the agreement. no.
They're not gonna restore the habitat, the natural grasslands, in the 2,000 acres. That's not on the table.
Well, I mean, they could.
It'd be good for
It could.
solar
It's
panels.
It's in, restoration is in
So
the
they can
agreement.
put solar panels in there?
Yeah, well, so, look, I mean, we couldn't completely control what they do with it, but we wanted to make sure that they didn't do something that was, of a heavy water use nature, right? So it's fallowed, and the idea is that they're not gonna use it in a way, and they're gonna use it in a way that saves more than 100,000 acre feet of water. You know, which is significant. We'll do, one or two more. How about over here?
Yeah, my name's Hazard Hawk. Appreciate what you've done there, set the
question is, how about the stock size of livestock? You could reduce the number of that, because that's where the big water consumption actually is.
Hundreds of thousands of cattle, how much water?
Yeah.
125,000.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
50,000 cats.
what I can say is this agreement doesn't cover the size of their stock. Yes, so it does not cover that particular issue.
Hi, my name's Rochelle Towers, and it just seems like all of these solutions, and it's good that people are getting the remediation that they need, but it just involves more drilling, deeper drilling, and it just seems like we're stealing this from our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren, and for the generations to come, because we've just gotta go like this. And I'm just wondering, from your position where you sit as Attorney General, what would it take to really say, you can't have agribusiness that has to drill that deep?
So, this is a great question, and, when I am fantasizing about being the governor, these are the kinds of things that I think about, but, anyway, this is an important question, like, this is a great question, again, something that a legislature that really cared about rural Arizona, would take up, and so, you know, I think that, again, this goes to, you know, we need a statewide approach to these issues so that communities like this beautiful community are protected. And I think that is going to be, it's gonna be some mixture of tools that we develop. Obviously, AMAs are a start, but they're not a total solution, right? I mean, one of the, you know, take this area, take La Paz County, you know, even if an AMA is created, and even though AMAs were created here, it does not address the damage already done. It does not necessarily address, totally at least, damage from ongoing operations of pre-existing big ag. In La Paz, let's look at La Paz County and Fondamonte. Even if they create an AMA in Fondamonte, it does not address the damage done by the Saudis to the people of Vicksburg and around Vicksburg. And that's why I am continuing my lawsuit, even though the Saudis think I should drop my lawsuit because, you know, an AMA is on the way. So, you know, there are multiple, but, you know, things like incentivizing fallowing is something is a thing that I think we are gonna have to move toward to really aggressively get at this. And then the last thing I would say as a pitch to you is, you know, let's support leaders who wanna go there, who have a vision for that. And this community, I think this community and what has happened here is maybe the spark that leads to that happening on a statewide level. Maybe this community and La Paz County. So one last question, and then I am being told that we have to leave, so I apologize.
Yeah, my name's Vance Williams, 2 quick things. If you went with the 11 million going to wells alone, $50,000 well, that's 220 wells. We already have that many people out of water because of this. The money doesn't mean squat. The second thing would be, where's the money to buy me out? I'm a disabled vet, I got my unit income, I own my house, I can't sell my house. I haven't been able to maintain it the way I need to because of all I had to do when my well went dry. So where's the help to get me out of this?
Yeah, so first of all, what I would say is we're pretty confident that although we don't have a perfect number of people who, a perfect estimate of the number of people who need immediate help, we think that the $11 million will cover a lot. like, hundreds and hundreds of families. And,
More than 200 wells out.
well, there's
Years ago.
more than 200, wells worth of money here.
50,000 a well is about.
20 to 50, 20 to 50, 20 to 50. So we'll see. My promise to you is we're not gonna stop fighting for the community. We got $11 million. We think that's a good start to re-drill and help people. But I want you to keep me informed of what's happening. I'll be back. As you can tell, I love doing these meetings, even when I get hard questions. That's what this is all about. That's my job. And I just want to thank you guys for the first meeting that led to this and that will lead to even more. So thank you very much.